3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network, this is a Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show as we broadcast to you live from our 345 Hudson Street studios, sitting on top of the 10th floor, ready to have another great day and a great week of shows right here on the Infinity Sports Network across all of our great local affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. You can always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Ryan Botcher, got Stuart Kovacs rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. John Rothstein, CBS Sports College Basketball Insider, is going to join us 40 minutes from now. He'll preview the NBA draft with round 1 coming your way tomorrow, and you have round 2 on Thursday. Outside of the Bronny James factor, does anybody give a rat's ass about round 2? But obviously some intrigue on who's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. We'll see where Donovan Clingan go. Can you pair him maybe with Victor Wembanyama? So some things brewing with the NBA draft. So we'll bring on John Rothstein 40 minutes from now. We'll go to Detroit at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:20 p.m. Pacific, and we'll talk to Willie Mack III, a professional golfer. He's did tee it up a few weeks ago and did tee off in the U.S. Open, and now he'll be participating in the Rocket Mortgage Classic that gets underway on Thursday. And then in the final hour of the show, we'll be joined by Liam McHugh, NHL on TNT studio host, as we will recap the Stanley Cup final. That's where we'll start the show off today. It was a very good game last night. It's everything that you could ask for outside of I would have liked to have seen overtime, but you had a great storyline and multiple storylines going in with the Edmonton Oilers on the verge of completing this great historical comeback. And then the Florida Panthers were on the verge of joining a community that no one wants to be a part of, and that's the Chokers Club. Because that's what the Florida Panthers are very close to doing after being up 3-0 and then seeing that lead vanish and having a Game 7 in their building last night, where, let's be honest, no one thought the Florida Panthers were going to win that game. Like, could they have won the game? Yeah, obviously they could have won the game. But with the way momentum shifted and how Edmonton found a way to win not only Game 4, but Game 5 and Game 6, and the big question was what Sergei Bobrovsky would show up, it felt like this was Connor McDavid's time, and it felt like Connor McDavid was about to join the likes of David Ortiz with the 2004 Red Sox, Tom Brady when he had the 28-3 comeback against the Atlanta Falcons, LeBron James with that title team that he had in Cleveland coming back from down 3-1 with the Golden State Warriors, going up against the Golden State Warriors. Like, that's what it seemed like it was going to happen. And if that was the case, the Florida Panthers would have joined that community with the Warriors, with the Falcons, and the New York Yankees. Like, that's where they were going. But even though they were looking at being part of that infamous chokers list, they found a way when they needed to be the team that we've seen from them most of the year, the more physical, the team that controls and possesses the puck better, and also you got the better part of Sergei Bobrovsky in a Game 7. And that game last night, it was a very good game. I would have loved to have seen it get to overtime. It was a tremendous first period. You know, Florida scores quickly. They needed to get that first goal. Then a little over 2 minutes later, you get the Oilers. They answer back. But in that second period, it was very big, and it showed. And in these Game 7s, especially in hockey, puck luck is a huge term. And it looked like Edmonton was about to cash in. They don't get the bounce to go their way. And then they come down the other way, and Reinhart gets the goal. And let's be real, Skinner's got to make that save. That's a soft goal to end up being the game-winning goal. Panthers fans, congratulations. You're elated. You love it. But Skinner's got to make that save. And that was a big thing going into this series. Even though Skinner was playing better, and he obviously started to do a better job in this series when they started to win games, it was a clear goalie advantage in favor of the Florida Panthers. And you saw that last night. But that second period was enormous, not only because you saw the Panthers take the 2-1 lead, because that building, I don't know if it was the way that ESPN produces the games, because their crowd noise has been a little funky all throughout the playoffs. It has been. And they don't do a great job producing these games. Like, the camera angles were insufferable. Absolutely. When they did that aerial shot last night, I'm like, can we just get back to shooting hockey like we normally shoot hockey? I'll give credit to McDonough and Ferraro. They've been criticized a lot. They did a good job. But in that second period, it seemed like for the first half of the second period that Edmonton was the better team. But on the scoreboard, it was 1-1. And that you could tell that building, it was alive, it was jumping. There was a lot of Oilers fans there, and obviously a ton of Panthers fans. The little war between the national anthems before the game was fun. It was good energy in the first period. But then when it was 1-1, in those hockey crowds, obviously, there's nervous energy, especially when it's an elimination game and you have a Game 7 and it's win or you're done, right? You win the game, you win the Stanley Cup, you lose. You either are part of the biggest choke job or maybe the biggest choke job in sports history or one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. Like, that was on the line last night. But in that second period, for the Panthers to go into the third with the 1-goal lead, not that the game was over, I thought it was enormous because even though it kind of evened out at the end of the period, I did think the Oilers were the better team in that second period. And if Edmonton got a lead in that game, I don't think they're losing the game. But then basically what the third period turned into, it was the Panthers just being physical and just clearing the puck. And you knew you were going to see McDavid for basically like the entirety of the period. I didn't think it'd be literally the entirety of the period, but that's what it felt like. And when they pulled the goalie, they just had no gas left in the tank because they had their big dogs out there for the entirety of the third period trying to get a goal. And Bobrovsky was really good. The defense in front of him was outstanding. There was a lot of times the puck didn't even get to Bobrovsky. But the two moments that stand out to me, or really three, Edmonton not capitalizing on that penalty that they got early in the third. That's number one. Then with 7 minutes to go, about roughly 7 minutes to go, it may have been like 7:13, 7:14, something like that. McDavid's in front, and Hyman, he gets hooked. But let's be real. I don't think they're calling that with 7 minutes left. And they didn't. Like, that was keep the whistles out of it for the most part. And that was let the game be decided on the ice. You could definitely say that Hyman was hooked. I would not disagree with it, but I wasn't expecting the call to happen. But with that moment with 7 minutes to go, it was almost like the Oilers were dragged to thinking, okay, we're going to do this. And then right as they were about to come back from down 3-0 in the series and get that fourth win, they just hit that brick wall. And when that mental game is so big, and I'll give credit to Brian Boucher, who said this yesterday with us on the show, where Boucher was saying he actually thought there was more pressure on Edmonton going into the game last night than there were Florida, and everyone, including yours truly, disagreed. But that moment with 7 minutes to go, when they didn't put the puck in, it was like, oh my goodness gracious, I can't believe they didn't score. And then, I want to say it was under 3 minutes to go. Bobrovsky loses his stick. And it may be the most underrated part about the game, and people aren't going to talk about it because it was an icing, but how quickly, when Bobrovsky loses his stick, that the Panthers fire that puck down the other end just to get an icing so you could stop the play and then Bobrovsky could get his stick back was enormous because they had to sit there for a minute. And Edmonton, that was really their last chance. I know they pulled the goal. They have some chances at the end, but they were never able to control the puck. And let's be real, how they got to this comeback was because of their speed, and they were just gassed at the end of that game, and they had nothing left in the tank. But if they were able to get a few shots off with Bobrovsky not having his stick, hey, maybe Florida would have blocked them all and they wouldn't even got to Bobrovsky, but that icing was enormous in the game. So that's how I kind of process Game 7, and it's on one side, Florida avoids this epic choke job, but now they're in the Champions Club, and it's well-deserved. They're the best team in hockey, even though the record may not have showed it throughout the entirety of the year. Team was in the Cup final a year ago. They were injured up against the Vegas Golden Knights. The next year, you knew it was truly Stanley Cup or bust, which can't be said for every team in the NHL. And it was Edmonton close, but yet so far. Like, they dangled the carrot right in front of you. Take a bite out of the apple, take a bite out of the carrot, however you want to say it, of being a part of one of the most memorable comebacks in sports history, and then it vanished right at the end. You know, it's like that commercial where they had the dollar on the fishing rod. It's like, oh, you almost get it. And then, nope, not so much. That's what it was like for the Edmonton Oilers. And you look back, that moment where they didn't score with 7 minutes to go is going to be memorable. And then also, you can't dance around the obvious. Leon Draisaitl, I don't know if he was hurt. I don't know. You see that all the time in playoff hockey, where the run ends and you find out that this guy's dealing with like 9,000 injuries. It's also what Florida does. You take away the best players. That's what Florida does. We saw it all throughout their run. Obviously, McDavid had his great run where he had the most points in a Cup final history in a 2-game stretch when he had those 8 points. But Leon Draisaitl not scoring a single goal. Not a single goal in 7 games in the Stanley Cup final. That's alarming. So that's how I kind of process Game 7 last night. Congratulations to Vinny Viola. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers. Well-deserved. They deserve to win the Stanley Cup. And I think the biggest reason why was in Game 7 that Sergei Bobrovsky stood on his head and did a really good job in what was a fun game. You know, obviously I wanted overtime. We didn't get it, but it was a very fun, good game. I could say a little bit of an anticlimactic third period. right? You're expecting some goal. Either if it was Florida putting it away, going up 3-1, or Edmonton tying it and sending that baby into overtime. But there's really not much more outside of overtime that you could really ask for. And also, yesterday, I don't think that this is like a crazy take. I don't think you needed a PhD in hockey to figure this one out. But did anyone actually think that McDavid wasn't going to get the Conn Smythe? I know Subban and the great Mark Messier both didn't they say, oh, we understand if he gets it. But they thought if the Panthers won the game, it should have gone to someone on the Florida Panthers, whether that was Barkov or Bobrovsky. But you look at the Conn Smythe. I know a lot of people shoot in for the Stanley Cup final. I know a lot of people shoot in for the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's not the award who's the most valuable player in the Cup final. It's for the entirety of the playoffs. Now, if you don't get to the Cup final, you're not going to win the award. You're not. But we have seen before, Stu knows it being a Devils fan, and I don't think you care when you win the Cup. But in 2003, John Sebastian Jaguar, he won it as the goalie. And McDavid becomes the second skater, second non-goalie to win the Conn Smythe. It's happened 6 times, win the Conn Smythe, and be on the losing team. So it was pretty obvious when you have the 4th most points in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs in an individual run that McDavid was going to win it. And also now when you have the most assists that any player has ever had, passing Wayne Gretzky in an individual run in a Stanley Cup playoff. But let's not dance around it as well. He doesn't want to win that trophy. There's a reason why he didn't go on the ice to accept it, nor should he. Because let's be real, you're the captain of the team. He did what captains do. You do the handshake line. You wait for every player to walk off the ice, and then you go be with your team. And, hey, Florida Panthers fans, they want to boo him. They want Bobrovsky to get it. That's fine. But the voting process for the Conn Smythe, and you know what? I know it's on a Thursday, so I probably don't need to do a Zach Gelb Show PSA, but I'm going to do a PSA anyway. It's amazing to me how they vote for these awards before the game actually ends or before the series ends. I think for the Conn Smythe, you got to submit your ballot with 10 minutes left in the 3rd period. We didn't even know who was going to win. So McDavid got every first place vote. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 17. You guys just learned that count. There's 17 voters. 16 out of the 17 first place votes went to Connor McDavid. The one first place vote that didn't go to Connor McDavid was to Sergei Bobrovsky. But then think about this. So if one voter has Bobrovsky as the first and everyone else has McDavid, you would have thought Bobrovsky would have dominated the second place. He didn't receive a single second place vote. So in the breakdown, it was basically all of Barkov besides one person that voted for Hyman in second place, and then Ryan S. Clark of ESPN voted Bobrovsky for first, voted McDavid for second. So out of all these 17 ballots, Sergei Bobrovsky only got 7 points. And the way the point system works, it's 5 points for first place, 3 for second, and 1 for third. I'm not a math major, but I'll give you the math. He only got 3 total votes to win the Conn Smythe. Only 3. He got a first place vote, which is 5 points, and then he got 2 third place votes. Botcher, you're smarter than me. 5 + 1 + 1 equals?
7.
7. So he actually finished 4th, Bobrovsky, in the Conn Smythe. McDavid won with 83 points. Barkov second with 46. Gustav Forsling had 8. And he ended up finishing 3rd, and Bobrovsky finished 4th. So when I was sitting there, and I think I tweeted out with 10 minutes to go or something like that, hey, we talked about it on the show, win or lose, it's going to be McDavid. But if it's not McDavid, I would have thought it was Bobrovsky. And I have no problem with McDavid winning the Conn Smythe. If I was voting, I'd probably vote him 1. But the one argument that Panthers fans have, and hey, they had 3 Panthers players, or 2 Panthers players, Barkov, Forsling, and then you had McDavid in front of Bobrovsky, is if Connor McDavid can register 0 points in Game 6 and Game 7, right? That's what he did. Then why can't Bobrovsky not win the Conn Smythe, even though his game got away from him after blowing a 3-0 lead, but then he was able to steal it back after, in Game 7? Because if that series would have ended in 5, if that series even would have ended in 6, I think Bobrovsky would have won the Conn Smythe. That's how I would have thought it would happen. But once it got to a Game 7, and you understand that McDavid has the 4th most points in the history of a Stanley Cup playoff run, right, in an individual run, has the most assists in an individual Stanley Cup playoff run, you knew that Connor McDavid was going to win. But if you're a Panthers fan, if that's your biggest gripe, oh, we didn't win the Conn Smythe, I don't think you care. Because the only trophy that really matters is who wins the Stanley Cup final and who wins Lord Stanley Cup. And that's the Florida Panthers for this year, and it's well-deserved. So do you have a problem with Connor McDavid winning the Conn Smythe? I don't, but I am shocked that Sergei Bobrovsky didn't finish 2nd, and he finished in 4th for the Conn Smythe. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. When we come on back, Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors have reached a stalemate in their negotiations. Is Klay Thompson about to leave the Bay Area? We'll discuss. Also, John Rothstein going to join us coming up in 23 minutes from now, right here on the Zach Gelb Show, off and running on a very busy Tuesday on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
So I'm reading an article from ESPN's Kendra Andrews, and it's basically the Golden State Warriors' view of Klay Thompson, and they make it clear that they want him back. And the headline is Warriors strategize a way to keep Thompson. And it goes on in this article, and it talks about how ultimately the decision is in the hands of Klay Thompson. The choice will ultimately be Thompson's, but he plans to test free agency before a decision is made, sources told ESPN. Stu, I understand that this article is kind of the Warrior spin. Hey, there's some difficult things. There's not been a lot of communication right now. We've made it clear that we want him back. Heck, Mike Dunleavy Jr., the general manager of the Warriors, reiterated his stance on the 12-year guard, telling Kendra Andrews, we want him back. It's one thing, though, to say you want him back, and then it's, can you guys agree on the right price? Like, the Warriors should want him back at a significant discount. And they can't afford to do what they just did a year ago, where they elected to say, oh, we had this player who was great for us in Draymond Green. He probably doesn't have that many good years left. We think Draymond's really important to us, but we're basically giving him a 4-year, $100 million deal based off what he did in the past, not how we project him to do in the future. The Warriors will deny that. The Warriors will tell you how, they still need Draymond Green to win a championship. Baloney. They should blow this thing up, and they should get more help around Steph Curry for guys that could actually go win a championship in 2024 than next year, 2025. Draymond Green is not essential to go win a championship for the Golden State Warriors. So they already paid Draymond Green, and now it's like you got Klay. What's Klay looking for? And I don't know if Klay is actually mad or if this is just the games that people play now, but it's so petulant. And I know Draymond does his podcast and he basically laughs at it. But, like, you're an all-time great Golden State Warrior. You're part of an incredible dynamic duo that won so many championships together. And Klay Thompson, no one could say a bad word about the guy. Like, I once covered Klay Thompson at a game that he played in Philadelphia. And he's doing a press conference afterwards, housing a slice of pizza while talking to the media and eating a cheesesteak. Like, this is a man's man. This is a guy that a lot of people love. But for him to take down all the photos of the Golden State Warriors and to scrub his social media, like, okay, you're playing games, but is this really necessary? Like, you're above those games, Klay Thompson. You're going to be a Hall of Famer. You won 4 championships with the Warriors. Can't we just do these negotiations without the drama? And I'm sure his preference is to stay in the Bay Area, but he also wants to get one somewhat last big contract. And the Warriors would be crazy, and I don't know what the numbers are going to be, but the Warriors would be crazy to go above and beyond to keep Klay Thompson. Unfortunately, this guy's latter part of his careers were just derailed because of injuries, because his leg kept on getting torn up. And it's unfortunate. It sucks. But it's almost like Klay would be better off going somewhere else for a team that's maybe young, up and coming, and they need a championship kind of player. You get more money that way, and you try to go win somewhere else. Like if that's Orlando with the Magic, or if it's Oklahoma City Thunder like whoever it may be, a younger team. That would be better off for Clay. Like, I get it. Clay wants to stay with the Warriors. You want to stay in one uniform. But that's not reality. That doesn't always happen. So the way that I look at it is that I think the Warriors don't have it in them to say no. Now, can the two sides meet in the middle on the price? We shall see. But Stu, this article that was released yesterday evening, it's clearly the Warriors' version of this. And of course the Warriors are going to say, oh, the decision is in the hands of Klay Thompson. But is it really? Like, what are you offering?
Yeah, it definitely is the Warriors. And I'm kind of with you. Like, they should have broken this, aside from Steph, obviously. I think they should have built around him differently, especially the last few years. And that started with Draymond. And it's just kind of crazy that they decided to hold on to Draymond and
try the Chris Paul experiment.
Yeah, which was that is a total failure. So yeah, they're kind of in that complete mess. And I know we've talked about this in the past, especially when the Warriors had their exit earlier in the postseason. I think that window's done for Steph unless they pull off some magic trick, which I don't really see happening. Who are they going to get to pair with Steph? Like. Mm-hmm. Maybe if somehow they convince LeBron to join.
That would be ideal. That would be great.
It'd
be fun to see those two greats end their careers together.
That's probably their best case scenario, but I mean.
You know what? The Warriors and the Lakers kind of need to have a baby.
Yeah, get together and birth another championship.
Yeah, the offspring, if they had a baby, would probably deliver a championship. Because, like, LeBron has AD, and Steph really has no one anymore. So Steph could use AD. And LeBron could use Steph. Now, I get it. It would just be LeBron and Steph. You wouldn't get AD into that equation.
Unless you trade Steph to the Lakers. Now you're talking.
Oh,
now
look at you rat. Then all of a sudden you'll be having your pom-poms up in the air saying, go Lakers again.
Go J.J. Redick. Love this guy.
And rooting for J.J. Redick.
That's right.
Oh, geez, Louise. That would be something. But let's go around the room here. Because I do think it's best for both parties to split, but there are human emotions involved in this. And it's not easy to say goodbye. You could do what Bob Myers did. Hey, just go join TV, and then you don't have to make that decision. That's why Bob Myers is on TV right now. He didn't have the heart. He didn't have it in his heart to tell Draymond Green, we don't want to pay anymore. And he knew that the decision with Klay Thompson was looming as well. That's why Bob Myers is doing TV right now. But let's say Klay goes somewhere else, or if Klay stays. Who is an athlete that's been in one uniform that is active, that it would be bizarre out of the four major sports, seeing that athlete go to another place and play in another uniform? And I started off, mine's Patrick Mahomes. And it's crazy how quickly, we all know how Mahomes is the best player in the sport now with Brady no longer a part of it, being retired. But you see what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do with the 3 championships, they're already winning a bunch of MVPs. He is the fabric of Kansas City. Kansas City was like, oh, when are we going to win another title again? Patrick Mahomes walks in, he gets them to 4 Super Bowls, and he's won 3 championships. And it's like now they're in the AFC championship game each and every year. It's kind of like the New England Patriots. They still have a long ways to go. But each and every year, debt, taxes, and bare minimum, the Patriots will be waking up in the AFC championship game. And you're going to eventually see a different version of Mahomes. And I know we've seen Brady leave New England and Rodgers leave Green Bay recently. And we saw Montana, leave the 49ers and go to Kansas City. So it's not like, hey, Brett Favre played with the Jets and the Vikings too. So it's not crazy to see a great quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback, Peyton Manning, going from the Colts to the Broncos to go somewhere else at the end of his career. But it would be bizarre seeing Patrick Mahomes at this point in another uniform. But there will be a different chapter in the Mahomes career, and that's down the road whenever that is, whenever Andy Reid retires, whenever Travis Kelce retires. And we know that's his organization, but then who else do they add to him to continue on what has been a dynasty so far with them winning back-to-back Super Bowls and 3 championships that they've already run? So my answer would be Patrick Mahomes. It would be bizarre at this point, out of active players, to see him in a different uniform. Who's yours, Stu?
So mine is somebody that I think actually should, probably a few years ago, should have been on a different team and should have left.
What sport?
Baseball.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about.
And I just can't picture him in another uniform, and that's Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Like, he should be in another uniform, but if I think, like, do I picture him as a Dodger? No. Do I picture him as a Yankee? No. Met? No. Giant? No. Philly? No. Cub?
Maybe
no.
Phillies just because of the hometown connection.
Right, but even, like, I don't know. I just see him as an Angel, and I don't see that changing. So, again, he should be on a different team, but I can't envision it.
I don't think he wants to be. Like, there are stars who don't like the spotlight. Mike Trout is a star who kind of wants to live in obscurity. You know, the most you kind of ever see Mike Trout is when he's at an Eagles game, for crying out loud, and he's sitting in the end zone in his comfy season tickets. Like, that's the most personality you ever see out of Mike Trout. Now, maybe with the injuries, losing Ohtani, this pushes him to finally request that trade. But if it hasn't happened now, I'm not holding my breath thinking that it's going to be different and he's finally going to force his way out of the Angels, but he should. Because it stinks for the sport that we've only seen one of the greatest players, right? The best player in the last 10 years of Major League Baseball make the postseason once, and he quickly got swept out of the postseason. Botcher, who is yours? An active player that's been in one uniform that it would be bizarre if you saw him go somewhere else.
It's kind of funny to say this because they're a match made in dysfunction heaven. Dak Prescott. With how much he's been under contract negotiations, I feel like every single year for the last 5 years.
That's the John Dallas Show. That's the way they like it.
I just don't think he'll go anywhere else. They're perfect for each other, just dysfunctional.
If he wants to, he can because he has a no-tag clause, so he could hit free agency this year, and I think there's a chance of that happening. But if you say, Zach, gun to your head, is Dak Prescott back with the Cowboys next year? I'm saying yes. You know who the answer is, though? And I know I gave Mahomes. It's Steph Curry. I know we talked about it with Klay Thompson, and even Stu and I were joking about either getting Steph to LA or having LeBron join him with the Golden State Warriors. But it would be weird seeing Steph somewhere else. But with him and how awesome he is at shooting three-point shots, like even when he starts to decline, he could go somewhere and be like a six-man or a seven. That'd just be like a three-point specialist. He could go play for a lot longer than the average pro would be able to play, because if it gets down to, I know it's all awesome how Steph maneuvers around the court and then hits these ridiculous three-point shots, but if his legs eventually slow down, he could literally just sit in the corner and jack up a bunch of threes per game. You know, kind of like Ray Allen was one of the greatest three-point shooters I've ever seen, right? And Ray Allen at the end of his career, he always bounced around, but in Miami, he was just, hey, stick Ray in the corner, and you know Ray Allen's going to hit a bunch of threes. All right, it's Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Who's going to be the number one pick of the NBA draft tomorrow evening? When is Bronny James going to go? How about Zach Edey? We'll connect with CBS Sports College Basketball Insider, the always entertaining John Rothstein, when we return. Update time first, though. Here's the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. Interleague play has become somewhat of an afterthought, except in New York, where the Yankees and Mets battle for city bragging rights over the next two nights. The Yankees are the best team in the American League by record, but they have struggled lately with losses in 7 of 10, and will turn to Garrett Cole for a lift. The Cy Young Award winner makes his second start of the season tonight. The Mets have won 4 straight series and are 13-6, but will not be, or I should say this month they are 13-6, but they'll be without Edwin Diaz, who was suspended 10 games and will not appeal. The Phillies had the best winning percentage in baseball and took last night's series opener in Detroit. They scored 4 in the first and never looked back. Alec Boehm capped the inning with a 2-run homer, and manager Rob Thompson said the third baseman has really come into his own.
He's a good hitter because, as I've said all along, he makes contact, he doesn't chase, he uses the entire field. So he's going to get his hits, he's going to get his RBIs when he's in that 4 spot, because you got to figure that those guys ahead of him are going to be on base.
They'll send 10-1 Ranger Suarez to the mound tonight. The Guardians go for their 7th straight in Baltimore. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network, and it is the Zach Gelb Show. We gear up for the NBA draft that comes your way tomorrow. Remember, this is now a 2-day event, so round one will be on Wednesday, and then you have round two on Thursday. You can give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. I'm actually going to the NBA draft this year. The last time I was at the NBA draft, it was when I had that viral moment with Kobe White with the, Cam Johnson, just went 11. Then he was like, wow, that's crazy, bro. And it was like the most memorable moment from that draft. I did go to the press conference last year, the pre-draft press conference for Victor Wembanyama, but I will actually be in attendance at the NBA draft coming up tomorrow evening. And we don't know who's going to be the first overall pick, because I was reading that Alex Sarr, he did not work out. He elected to not work out with the Atlanta Hawks. So there's some feelings that Atlanta's going to pass on him with the first overall pick, and maybe he'll go second with Washington. So this is not like last year where it's Victor Wembanyama. We knew that he was going to go 1, and then the draft really started with the second overall pick. But let's welcome in from CBS Sports, also with DraftKings, the great John Rothstein, college basketball's hungriest insider. He's kind enough to join us once again on the Zach Gelb Show. John, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been, my man?
Great, Zach, but whoever gave you that reader, I got to correct them. It is FanDuel, not DraftKings.
Sorry. My apologies. Yeah. John Rothstein okay. on behalf of FanDuel here with us. Let me start you off because I follow you on Twitter, and I know that you are against NCAA expansion for the tournament. And I'm 100% with you in college football. I can't stand that they went from 4 to 12 as well. We know in the NCAA tournament, they're at 68. It seems like, though, it's inevitable this is going to go to 72 or 76.
I mean, it might be inevitable by what, is really kind of going through social media, but I think if you look right now at the NCAA tournament is far and away the best postseason event that there is in all of sports. So tinkering with that does not make, in my opinion, any sense at all. And I think if you look at one of the things that I've been very, very opinionated about, if there was one thing that I would like to see altered with the NCAA tournament in its current form, which features 68 teams, I think it would be better for the tournament if the first 4 in Dayton featured the last 8 at-large teams, and any team that earned an automatic qualifier was then granted an opportunity to start the NCAA tournament in the round of 64 if you win your conference tournament. But you think about expanding the NCAA tournament, or even the people who have that discussion, you are then saying that you are going to minimize what goes on during the regular season. And Zach, you know this as well as anybody else. One of the things that really brings people into college basketball from the periphery, and even general sports fans for that matter, as early as the early days of January, is the bubble. Who is the first 4 teams out? Who is the last 4 teams in? It's really part of the vernacular of our country from really the end of the Super Bowl until Selection Sunday. And if you expand that, you are going to take that away. Now, I know that there's a lot of people who were extremely frustrated that their team or program didn't get into the NCAA tournament last year. The Big East had 3 teams that you could have made a case for to get to the NCAA tournament: Seton Hall, St. John's, and Providence, who were all left out of the field. Pitt was also playing great basketball at the end of the year out of the ACC. But part of the greatness of March Madness is the fact that the postseason truly begins during championship week, because every single team that's a part of its conference tournament can play its way in to the NCAA tournament. And a perfect example of that is NC State. NC State was down 3 points to Virginia in the ACC tournament semifinals. The Wolfpack were nowhere near an at-large bid. Isaac McNeely, an excellent free throw shooter for Virginia, is at the free throw line to ice the game. He misses the free throw. Michael O'Connell gets the ball for NC State. Tony Bennett opts not to foul up 3. Michael O'Connell does a double clutch, banks in a 3. NC State beats Virginia, gets the automatic qualifier the next night against North Carolina, and then goes on one of the most improbable runs to the Final Four that we've seen. So the person who may make a case for expansion would say, well, that just reiterates why we should expand the field, because NC State was good enough to get to the Final Four. I say nonsense, because part of the greatness of March Madness is the fact that that entire chain of events and that one play from Michael O'Connell changed an entire season. The NCAA tournament does not need to expand today, tomorrow, or ever. The only change that I would make would be to make the first 4 the final 8 at-large teams in the bracket, and then obviously have any automatic qualifier in the round of 64. This is not a participation trophy getting to the NCAA tournament. It's an exclusive club, and we need to stop the talk for expanding the field.
John Rothstein here with us on behalf of FanDuel. Also does a great job, CBS Sports basketball, college basketball insider. Let me briefly get your thoughts on Danny Hurley before we talk about the draft. I thought the Lakers could have offered him a lot more money. It was a 6-year deal, reportedly $70 million. Did you ever think they were very close to seeing Hurley leaving Connecticut, UConn, and going out to Los Angeles?
If it would have been extravagant money, like you were referencing right there, and it was in a Godfather type offer,
like 90 to 100 million, right?
Yes, if Danny Hurley was going to be offered, $15 million a year to coach the Los Angeles Lakers, I think it could obviously been a little bit different. But I also think that if we would have seen the Boston Celtics or the New York Knicks offer Danny Hurley the job, if that was the job that he was being courted for, we might have a different result because, that job was in the Northeast. But Danny Hurley is somebody who has now carved out space as the best coach in college basketball. He is on a 2-year run that is really unprecedented in the modern era when you think about his NCAA tournament dominance. Zach, when I think back to the teams that have won back-to-back national championships, really since I've been covering college basketball and really been alive, it's been Duke in 91 and 92. It's been Florida in 06 and 07. And I think back to those teams, Florida played a very, very good Ohio State team in the 2007 national championship game. It was a competitive game. Greg Oden, Mike Conley, all those guys. Florida won by 9 points. Duke, obviously, in its trip to get to back-to-back national titles in 91 and 92, needed the buzzer beater from Christian Laettner to beat Kentucky in the regional final, and then was actually losing by 5 points to Indiana in the Final Four and came back to beat Indiana by 3 points. I believe it was 81-78 in the 1992 Final Four. UConn under Dan Hurley has won 12 NCAA tournament games in the last 2 years by an average of 21.7 points per game. I mean, this is really unfathomable when you think about UConn's dominance in the postseason. And I think when you look next year, into college basketball, a season that's going to be filled with interesting storylines, UConn's quest to win a third national championship will be at the top. And I think if you look at UConn's roster on paper, you might say that, the ranking is based more on what this program has accomplished the last 2 years versus maybe what people think this team can be. But then you remember who's cooking the meal in the kitchen. And if it's Dan Hurley cooking that meal, the sauce is probably going to taste just right when it's time to eat.
John Rothstein here with us. I kind of feel like Bronny James is going to get drafted by the Lakers in the second round, but how do you view him as a prospect?
About a year ago, I was at a USC practice, and I was watching their team work out, and I watched Bronny James very closely, and I said, this guy's got a chance to be a really good multi-year college player. He's got a chance, I think, to be an exceptional perimeter defender. He's an underrated passer. But unfortunately, delayed gratification was never in the cards for Bronny James. He wouldn't be even in the discussion to be drafted if he wasn't the son of LeBron James.
Where do you think, obviously you think then he should have stayed in college.
Yes.
How much of a consideration was that actually? Because there was a little talk that maybe he'd go transfer to Duquesne and play for Drew Joyce, who obviously played high school ball with LeBron.
Everything that I read from obviously people who cover the NBA every day, made it pretty clear that one of the goals and the dreams for LeBron James before he retires is to play for his son. And I think that's the way this narrative right now and the storyline is going to unfold. Obviously, his agent, Rich Paul, came out last week and said that Bronny James only worked out for 2 teams, the Suns and the Lakers. The Lakers, as you mentioned and referenced, are on the board of 55. I think that's where we expect Bronny James to land, if he is going to be drafted coming up tomorrow or the following day in the 2024 NBA draft.
I saw it was talked about today by Landry Fields that the Hawks got rejected by SAR with the workout. They have the number 1 overall pick. So I'll ask you a 2-part question. Who do you think is going to go number 1 overall tomorrow evening? And then also, because it could be a different answer, who do you think is the best player in this draft?
I would trade the number 1 pick if I had the number 1 pick and I was an NBA executive, because the narrative surrounding this NBA draft is obviously that it's a very weak draft. it's weak at the top in the sense that I don't see a ton of franchise caliber players at the professional level in the NBA draft. But I do think as you get further on down the line, there's a number of good players who could have productive careers in a certain role in the NBA for a long time. But I think if you're an executive right now with one of the top draft picks, you want to be thinking really heavily about trying to move down, because this is the type of NBA draft where you could get the same player down the line at 9 or 10 that you could get at 3 or 4.
Who do you think, though, is the best player in the draft?
There's so many different foreign prospects, Zach. I don't want to obviously act like, I have, seen these foreign prospects as much as I've seen, obviously the college prospects. And another thing, too, we saw in college basketball last year a number of programs take chances on foreign prospects who were projected to be first-round picks or lottery picks, and that didn't come to fruition. 2 programs that took a number of foreign prospects on were UCLA and Xavier. I think now, considering the way he's developing and considering how much he can change the game defensively, I think you would have to think long and hard about Donovan Clingan being such a game changer and being able to do so many different things defensively in the NBA as somebody that you would take number 1, in the 2024 NBA draft. The face-up game is improving. We saw elements of that offensively later in the season. And the one thing that I've always liked about Donovan Clingan, especially when you're talking about his defense, it's not so much the shots that he blocks, it's the shots that he alters. And I think you saw that in that dominant run that UConn had 30-0 against Illinois in the Elite Eight.
I only got 30 seconds left. Imagine if you get Wembanyama and Clingan on the same team in San Antonio with them picking 4.
That would sell some tickets for sure. I don't know if it's Duncan and Robinson, but they could run it back for sure.
John Rothstein does a tremendous job. College basketball's hungriest insider for CBS Sports, and also does a great job contributing to FanDuel. Kind enough to join us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. John, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Always great rapping with you, man.
Likewise. Thanks so much. There he is, John Rothstein. Yeah, could you imagine that? You get Wemby and Clingan down low for the Spurs. I know Wemby plays all over the place, but just with how many incredible shot blocks that you've just seen from Clingan, and then obviously Wembanyama could have been the defensive player of the year this year in the NBA. That's how awesome he was. That would be really damn cool. So appreciate JR John Rothstein joining us for a few minutes, and I agree with him. They don't need to expand the NCAA tournament whatsoever. It would just be, I don't need to see more teams. It's worse for college football. It devalues the regular season more, but it just seems so unnecessary. 68, they've already expanded a few years ago. I think that's a good enough number. All righty, we'll take a timeout. Connor McDavid didn't win it all last night. Who's the best player? Who are some of the best players to never win a championship?
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, welcome back in. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show. Willie Mack, the third professional golfer. He's going to join us coming up 15 to 20 minutes from now on the Zach Gelb Show. We're coming off the elation of Game 7 last night. You had all the makings for the epic comeback story of the Edmonton Oilers down 3-0, the sensational performances by Connor McDavid in games 4 and 5, right? They win game 6. All momentum has shifted back to them. And then when needed to be, Sergei Bobrovsky showed why he was the better goaltender. And we all know how much of a controlling pace the Panthers play. You know, obviously they lost that, and the speed of Edmonton just killed Florida in games 4, 5, and 6. But after getting the first goal, Oilers answered back in the first 2.5 minutes later. And then the second, it seemed like there was like a little moment where Edmonton could go snatch the soul of the Florida Panthers. But when the Panthers survived that stretch early in the second, and then the Oilers just missed on a goal. The puck was just batted away. and then it was sent down the other way, and then boom, you have the Panthers' second and last goal of the game go in, and it was kind of a soft goal allowed. Not kind of, it was a soft goal allowed by Stuart Skinner. In that moment, it was like, okay, even though the game is far from over, you ended up having another full period to play. It felt like the Panthers were going to win. And then there's certain moments that reiterate that in the third period. The Oilers not being able to score in the power play that they were gifted. And then after that was about 7 minutes to go in front of the net. McDavid nor Hyman could put the puck in. I know Oilers fans are going to have a gripe saying it should have been a hook. And I don't disagree with that. But I don't think they're calling that, or I could see it being 50-50 if they actually call it in a regular season game. I think it's obvious in game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs at the Cup final. Maybe even game one of the Stanley Cup final, they called that hook there, but with 7 minutes to go and how the officials were allowing most things to go, I didn't think they were going to call it a hook there. And then the last kind of life that the Oilers displayed was later on in the third, where Bobrovsky loses his stick. And this is why the Panthers are just a smart hockey team. And they made the heads-up play. They said, let's just ice the puck, and we make sure our goalie in a one-goal lead ends up getting his stick back. And then the game ends in kind of an anticlimactic way with the puck in the corner. You know, I was talking to my father, Stu, today, because he's a huge hockey fan. And that's like the one sport we bond over with both of us being big Rangers fans. My dad was so heated about how the game ended. He goes, I just wanted overtime. I didn't care who wins. It sucks, though, that the puck was in the corner for the last 15 seconds. And I'm like, good for the Panthers. Like, that's the style of hockey that they play. They're physical. They're aggressive. They're not the most flashy team, but they wear you down in a series, and when they need to, they just control the puck. And it's kind of crazy because, Stu, see, you don't experience these things because your team won, 3 Stanley Cups in your lifetime with the Devils? Like,
I also wasn't a huge.
Oh, you weren't a huge fan then?
Not back then.
Okay.
This is more of a recent few years.
Is that because your girlfriend's a big hockey fan?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
So that's a yes.
That's the reasoning for my like of the Devils.
The way that you say that.
Oh, boy.
It's very fascinating to me. Not to put you on the spot here, but I would assume that your girlfriend got you into hockey, which I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of. But isn't her father a season ticket holder member?
No, not a season ticket holder, but he goes like at least 10 games a year, sometimes more.
So that's like a little bonding with Stu and the girlfriend's family, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why can't you confirm or deny that?
I don't want you to think I've been a Devils fan, for 25 years, and Marty Brodeur, Scott Stevens, all these guys.
Yeah.
Like, I watched them when I was a kid, but I wasn't like
you didn't really care for them. It's not like the Lakers. It wasn't like your Raiders,
Yankees,
your Yankees. No. You may have the 4 weirdest teams.
It's a weird combination.
Yankee, Laker, Raider, Devils.
Yeah.
I feel like the Yankee-Laker kind of makes sense.
Right. And if you put in the Cowboys with that would be a total sense.
And
right?
then if you rooted for the Canadians in hockey too.
Right.
Even though Canada can't win a Stanley Cup. But if you threw the Canadians in there as well, you'd be the biggest front-running fan in America.
Yeah, that's not good.
So obviously you became a Yankee fan because you grew up in New York.
Yes.
How'd you become a Laker fan?
I started getting into basketball around 2000, and that's when they had Kobe and Shaq, and I just watched them, and I was like, oh my God, these two guys are great, and that's it.
Okay. How'd you become a Raiders fan? That's the one that doesn't really make. Is it just
my dad's like them since the 70s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my dad's a big Raiders fan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, big Raiders fan. He just saw them when they played, when they were great in the 70s, and he's rooted for them since, and he gave that to me.
I thought, that's bad parenting.
Thanks, Dad.
I have to call Child Protective Services if I'm being honest. But I thought maybe the first Super Bowl that you actually really cared about was maybe Tampa Bay and the Raiders. And I know that the Raiders got smoked in that game, but maybe you became a Raiders fan.
It is ironic because they were pretty good when I first started watching football. But obviously since then, the past 20 years have not been good really at all, other than 2 pretty okay years and then, 23 pretty horrible years.
Crappy years.
Yeah.
Poopy years.
Yes.
I can't curse on the radio, but I wanted to say something else that I'm not allowed to describe that word, but then we'd have to dump it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same word.
JJ Redick, by the way. I'll get into this later. But
potty mouth.
It's amazing how many people in the media And I understand we all have to give takes and opinions, but it's amazing how many people just lecture about how somebody else should conduct themselves. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm younger and I know the words that people say and how people typically talk, and maybe it's a little bit different because right now you're the CEO of the franchise, when in reality, J.J. Redick's not the CEO of the Lakers. LeBron runs that organization. Jeannie Buss runs that organization. I guess Rob Pelinka runs that organization. JJ's the coach because he's LeBron's friend. He's his podcast partner. Or now they're getting rid of the podcast with him coaching the Los Angeles Lakers, or so he claims. So JJ Redick drops one F-bomb in the press conference, and you would have thought that JJ Redick was like the worst human being in the world. I can't believe now, Stu. I'm defending JJ Redick. I can't stand the man's guts. He's insufferable. He's a pompous ass. Don't get me wrong. But people pretending as if he committed some crime yesterday because he dropped an F-bomb in the press conference? Get over yourself. Toughen up a little bit. Oh, what about the children? Oh, the children are listening. So if you don't like that language, be a parent, lecture your children, and tell them you don't speak that way in public. But how people are making this out to be as if J.J. Redick is the worst human being to ever walk the face of the earth because he dropped an F-bomb is ridiculous. I don't know what's funnier. Because the initial question was like, hey, what do you say to people that doubt you or the outside noise, something like that, and the critics? And he's like, oh, I don't really give a bleep. That's what he said. I'd say it if I could say it, but I can't say it on the radio. Oh, I don't know what's funnier. J.J. Redick saying he doesn't give a bleep about what people say about him because he's so sensitive and he's so thin-skinned. Or the fact that it's like people basically thinking he committed like murder by saying the F word in an introductory press conference. That's Stu, where do you lie on this, please?
I am with you. I saw a lot of his comments, videos on my way home last night. And I watched it, and I saw he said that. I didn't really even flinch. And I think the reporter laughed. We actually have the sound if you want to hear it.
Oh, do we? Okay, yeah. Let's play the sound. This is J.J. Redick. He was asked about dispelling the misconceptions about him.
It's a valid question and the interesting 6 weeks or so, just in terms of being part of the engagement farming industry. It's been really interesting. However, I don't really have a great answer for your question because I really don't give a like, honestly. I want to coach the Lakers. I want to coach the team. I don't want to dispel anything. I don't. I want to become a great coach in the NBA, and I want to win championships, and I want my players to maximize their careers. That's all I care about.
Oh, he dropped 2 F-bombs.
There were 2, yes.
Oh, my
With
apologies.
the same word.
I cut him short 1 F-bomb.
Does that change your opinion at all?
No, not at all. Honestly, he does come off sounding like a douche in that answer, but he always sounds like that.
Yeah.
He always sounds like who calls it the engagement farming industry?
Nobody.
I'm in
Just
that
him.
industry. I haven't even heard of that term. Am I an engagement farmer? Is that what I am?
Should add that to your ex bio.
Yeah. J.J. Redick thinks I'm an engagement farmer. Is that what it's called? Wouldn't it be engagement frame? Like, wouldn't engagement frame? Botcher, you're smart. Maybe I'm just an idiot.
You're farming impressions.
Wouldn't it be engagement framing, though? Wouldn't that sound better than engagement farming?
It sounds cooler.
Okay.
So it's like real gritty work.
Maybe I should get some like overalls and like a straw hat or something. I'm an engagement farmer.
Go to a press conference with overalls, a pitchfork, straw hat.
I know I lost a lot of weight. I still don't know how good I would look in overalls. Vince Wilfork's going to join us tomorrow. That's a man that looks good in overalls. And he used to dress up in overalls when he was with the Houston Texans at the end of his career. But geez, Stu, that's the big takeaway from your coach, J.J. Redick, your guy, the guy that's going to lead your Los Angeles Lakers. He drops an F-bomb and people are losing their mind.
I couldn't believe it. I was, and again, I saw the video. I didn't really flinch, and then like a couple hours later, I see all over X and Twitter people complaining about it. I was pretty stunned by that, to be honest.
So, I once got into it with someone that used to work on this network. We're friends. We're acquaintances, I would say. John Kincaid on 97.5 The Fanatic now in Philadelphia. And he used to host for years on this network, and then he started to work for Beasley, and I guess he, either he couldn't, I don't know if he couldn't host shows here, or if he's just like, I'm doing a morning show Monday through Friday. I don't need to wake up 6 days a week at, the hours that John works. So John and I once got into it because I think he was still hosting in Atlanta. I was actually hosting on the station that he hosts now. And I was doing weekends, and it was the year I was hosting Eagles postgame, and the year they won the Super Bowl. And people lost their mind about the profanity of the Jason Kelce speech. And it was Mike Francesa, and it was John Kincaid. And I remember logging on Facebook, and Kincaid had like 8 paragraphs on why it was amateur hour, and he's an Eagles fan. How it was amateur hour from Jason Kelce. Like, I love BT, Brandon Tierney, who used to host in this time slot for all those years. He's posting today on Facebook how it was ridiculous and how JJ's a pompous ass and how he's rooting to him to now fail and how dare he curse in a professional press conference. People are really losing their minds that much over 2 F-bombs? 2. It's like, guys, did he have to do it? No. But is it the end of the world? Like, I saw all these other writers too. Get it on social media. It's like, do we need to take ourselves that seriously? Seriously, like, it's not the end of the world here. The guy dropped an F-bomb. And let's say if it's one of those what about the children moment, right? Right? What about the children? Let's just say it was one of those moments where your child's watching that. And let's say it wasn't bleeped out. They're streaming on their phone and they hear the word. If you think that's big of an issue, that you don't want your child to hear that language, then don't. Then be a parent and tell them, hey, you don't say that word in my house or something like that. Like, it's amazing to me. And I understand athletes, right? People look up to them. They're on these mega platforms. But it's like crazy how athletes and coaches we think need to have like the perfect moral compass. And they have to live this life where they can't even say an F-bomb in a press conference when I guarantee you 99% of the people that are freaking out over J.J. Redick dropping 2 F-bombs in a press conference probably use the F word more than like anybody. Like, I love John Kincaid. When I sit next to him in the press box, I'm sure he's dropping F-bombs. I'm sure, I know BT dropped some F-bombs off the air. You worked with them, Stu. But because J.J. Redick did it in a public forum, that's a big deal? I don't understand that. Botcher, you're the closest thing that we have to a child on this show. You're 22. See, this is what happens, I'm younger, so I could use that. You have a younger guy in town. That's just the way that it happens. Are you offended that J.J. Redick dropped an F-bomb in a press conference?
I'm not mad he cursed. I just think it was very, very unnecessary. You had a 40-second answer before that.
Yeah.
And it just felt like you said, engagement in farming. Mm-hmm. He cursed just to get clicks.
So let's do this. We're going to push Willie Mack III back to 440. Can you guys do me a favor real quickly, Stu? You have Pete Bellatti's number?
Oh, of course I do. Yeah.
Can you call Pete right now? Cold call him.
Okay.
And let's just put him on. If I know Pete the Body Bellotti, and I was not listening this morning to Maggie and Perloff, it wasn't that I wasn't being a good company guy. It's my favorite morning show in national radio. It was because the Stanley Cup final ended late. I stayed up, watched all the post game, and I didn't go to bed till later than normal, so I slept in a little bit today. But I could guarantee you, and I love Pete. Pete's one of my favorite people at this network. I guarantee you Pete has a big issue with the cursing. I guarantee you that Pete the Body Bellotti thought that J.J. Redick dropped the ball. So let's see if we can get Pete up. Let me know. We are efforting to get Pete the Body Bellotti. Stu, I see he is quickly dialing the phone. Last week we had trouble booking Shep, right? We got pushed back 40 minutes. I think if Pete sees the number from the hotline and how dedicated of a manager Pete the Body Bellotti is, that he will pick up the phone on the first try. Or he's going to text Stu and say, Stu, why the heck are you calling me? Is this, I see Stu's mouth moving. I don't think he's leaving a voicemail. It looks like he has Pete the Body Bellotti on the phone. Let's see.
He can't hear me.
He can't hear you? I'll tell him to fix the damn phone then. What do you mean he can't hear you? Can't hear you. Can he hear you now?
He hung up.
He hung up? He hung up on us?
Technical difficulties.
Pete the Body Bellotti hung up on us? I would say GD, but then I think that would offend some people. Botcher would then dump me. All righty, let's try to give this one more time. I try. Stu is dialing the phone. Ring.
It's ringing.
Ring. 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 We're getting big time by Pete the Body Bellotti here. He's gonna text me later. Oh, I feel so bad. You guys want to talk to me? Voicemail. Absurd. All righty. Willie Mack III is going to join us coming up 20 minutes from now. We will try to get Pete the Body Bellotti on the show. Jeez. Out of all the dramatic things I've ever seen, Pete the Body Bellotti hung up on us. We can't even get him on the phone. If we don't get Pete on the phone by the next segment, I'm going to Oh, wait, he is management. All righty, we'll take a break. We'll come on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The fun continues on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, Pete Bellotti doesn't want to join the fun. Where is the body? We're trying to find him, but we're having no luck right now. Real quickly, as we talk about JJ Redick cursing, I just got a text. We could have a producer on producer war here.
Oh, no.
At the Infinity Sports Network.
By the way, he just texted me a GIF that says stir the pot. So I'm guessing whatever he said to you is not good.
So this was unsolicited. I see Tom DeCelestino, every day in this office. We don't text a lot, though. Our last text was actually about Hickey guaranteeing that the Mavericks would win Game 2 of the NBA Finals. And D-Cell and I were both like, okay, I guess we have to bet the Boston Celtics. And I think D-Cell has been able to put his kid through daycare, fully funded on the wrong picks of Hot Take Hickey, where, by the way, we called it last night when he joined us at 5:20 p.m. Eastern time the other day, Hot Take Hickey. We were all in Edmonton, and the moment he said Edmonton, we were like, oh, no. Everyone just let out the grunt, oh, no, because then we knew we should go in Florida. And I should have thrown, responsibly, I should have thrown a big bet on the Florida Panthers last night. I did not play the game, though. But we can't get Pete the Body Bellotti on the air as we wanted to ask about JJ Redick cursing. But D-Cell just texted me. He goes, Bellotti would have picked up the phone if it was Samter calling. He obviously has no respect for Stuart Kovacs. How does that make you feel that Pete the Body Bellotti pretended like he couldn't hear you and was like, hello, 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 hello,
Very
and then
suspicious.
just hung up the phone.
Yeah.
And then you texted him, right?
I have texted him, it's almost going on 10 minutes ago now, and no response.
And no response.
And he's clearly by his phone because he answered the phone.
So do you think he would have picked up if it was Samter?
I do not.
You don't. What happens if I call Pete? You think if I call Pete from my personal cell phone, he'll pick up the phone?
Yes. He might not. So the thing is, I called from the hotline, so he might not have recognized the number. He probably did, but...
Thought it was a telemarketer?
Yeah. It's just some random New York number.
We are not trying to sell you anything.
But again, I texted him right after I called him.
Let me see. I'll call Pete here.
Has been forwarded to an automated...
Oh! Blocked right away!
I believe he is calling in.
Oh, Pete's calling right in. Oh, so that wasn't because he blocked me right away. That's because he was calling on the hotline. Because I usually trust Pete's opinions on these things. And we'll see if we can get Pete on the phone. Stu has him locked up, ready to go. Can you guys not hear him? Stu, is that the issue? Are we just having technical issues here?
He can't hear us.
He can't hear. So tell him I just called him.
I think we got him now.
Okay. Botcher will fix it. Botcher fixes everything around here. He'll soon be like the COO of our company. Is this Pete the Body Bilotti on the line? Pete, how are you?
Hi, Zach. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. I guess Pete's calling on the bat phone. But anyway, do you have an issue? I don't know your answer to this, but I just assume that you do. Do you have an issue with J.J. Redick cursing yesterday in the press conference?
Well, now everyone curses everywhere now, but I would have rather him take a different tact than cursing. So it's not the biggest I have, but might be one of them.
All right. Well, your cell phone connection, it sucks right now. And I know you will apologize for that because you're a very kind person. But so basically you prefer that he wouldn't have done it, but you're not like losing your mind over it.
No, not losing my mind over it. But I think he's a slime ball anyway.
I love that answer. He is kind of a slime ball. He's a pompous ass, but there's a lot of reasons for people to root against J.J. Redick. I don't think because he cursed in a press conference yesterday is why people should be rooting for him to fail. Was basically just
there's a lot of other. I think he's arrogant, and I don't think it's going to work. I think it's him and LeBron, and it's going to be a big problem. And I'm waiting for it all to collapse like it has been every 2 years.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much. Your cell phone isn't great, so we're going to have to let you run.
Sure. Of course. Thanks, Zach.
There he is, the great Pete the Body Bilotti. You know, he's just kind of the voice of reason around here. Right? Botcher, you respect the opinion of Pete the Body Bilotti?
Yes.
I think everyone kind of looks up to Pete around here, and we all value his opinion. And I think the way that he said it is fine. He'd prefer that he didn't do it, but now everyone here's the thing. McAfee, and I love Pat, but you turn on ESPN. McAfee's cursing up a storm. And I know it was on ABC last night, not ESPN, Stu. But how insufferable was it during the Stanley Cup presentation? All the players, they lift the cup, and they're like, F yeah, F yeah. They're bleeping out the entire audio last night.
My girlfriend was like, why is there no sound? Like, she thought there was something wrong on our end. I'm like, no, that's just ABC bleeping out the fans. Like, that's 100% that.
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was not good.
And that is actually, bizarrely, one of my favorite things in sports. When they not that they just present the Stanley Cup, but the moment the Stanley Cup is handed out, how you hear, right, these, like, burly guys that have, like, played through these ridiculous injuries to go win a Stanley Cup. They lift the cup and, like, they're high-pitched screaming as if they're, like, a 5-year-old, right? I think that's just such a cool moment, and it's cool when they're like, yeah, bleep, yeah! But ESPN robbed us of that moment last night. You know, come on. You allow McAfee on the airwaves to say F this, F that all the time, but we can't have the players drop a few F-bombs. Like, okay, if you want to censor a few of them, fine. But not every single player that raises the cup do we have to drop the audio. All right, anyway, real quickly. Best player to never win a championship, with Connor McDavid not winning a championship last night as he had no points in Game 6 or 7 of the Stanley Cup final. Major League Baseball, Stu. It really comes down to two people for me. Ted Williams and Barry Bonds. And it's tough to differentiate the two. Like, I don't think either answer, if you say, Bonds is the greatest player to never win a championship in Major League Baseball, I wouldn't debate it. And if you said Ted Williams, I wouldn't debate it either. But the steroid part of this is fascinating. Because, like, when Willie Mays passed away last week at the age of 93 years old, like, you have some people that will not acknowledge now that the greatest living player on the planet for Major League Baseball is Barry Bonds because he cheated, right? Like, that's what that's what some people acknowledge. So I think it's like the same thing there. Do you consider what Bonds did actually happening, or do you kind of just say it's illegitimate? I think you acknowledge what has happened because the entire sport was basically doping those days, or a large majority of the sport was doping those days. But if you tell me either Ted Williams or Barry Bonds is the greatest player to never win a championship in Major League Baseball, I can't really argue either one of them.
Yeah, I personally would go Bonds, but I could see either those two, or maybe you throw in a Ken Griffey Jr. in there as well.
Fair.
But yeah. I think, either one of those, you can't go wrong.
NFL. You know, you could talk about Randy Moss. You could talk about Barry Sanders. Quarterbacks are king. Dan Marino is the best NFL player to never win a championship. I think NBA is the toughest one. Like, let me ask Ak here. Just off the top of your head, greatest NBA player to never win a championship. Who's the first name you think of?
Patrick Ewing.
Oh, okay. Ak goes Patrick Ewing. Now, some could say that's a little New York bias.
It's right off the top of my head. You asked me for off the top of my head. I gave it. What are we changing the rules? Come on.
I'm just asking. Stu, who's your answer?
Mine would be Allen Iverson.
Allen Iverson. Botcher, do you have an answer here? NBA player, greatest NBA player to never win a championship. Just
Chris
first thought.
Paul.
Chris.
Wow.
I don't know. It's recent.
Oi. Oi.
Don't tell that to Bill Ryder.
So Botcher says Chris Paul. Axe says Patrick Ewing. Stu, who'd you say again? Allen Iverson?
Iverson, yeah.
It's a good answer. The first two I thought of, Karl Malone and Charles Barkley. Now, I think the answer here is not the answer in Allen Iverson. I actually think it's Karl Malone, but I think the most recognizable player, if you ask it that way, in NBA history to not win a championship, it's actually Barkley now. Because as great as he was on the court, and he's one of the 75 greatest players of all time, his career has even taken on another life of its own with the announcing and how many times Shaq trolls him for never winning a ring. And that's kind of been a running joke on Inside the NBA. So that's just one of those that you kind of look at it. I think the most recognizable player would be Barkley. Allen Iverson's a great answer, Stu. But Malone is a 14-time NBA All-Star, 11-time All-NBA first team, and he's won 2 MVPs. Now, he got to a bunch of NBA finals, obviously, with Utah. And then the Lakers, he had a chance with
04, yeah.
Remember that? The AARP club with Gary Payton and Karl Malone at the end.
I thought that was a guaranteed championship.
Man, with Shaq and Kobe, too.
Yeah,
Let's not
in their prime, yeah.
Let's not bury the lead there.
With 2 Hall of Famers, as like the third and fourth options.
That's actually, I know we got to take a break and we got to get to Willie Mack, but that's one of my favorite championship teams that I didn't grow up rooting for. Was that Pistons team? Larry Brown, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups. I just loved watching what was that, 03 or 04 with the Pistons, Stu? I think it was 03.
It was the 03-04 season.
03-04.
Yes.
Oh, so both. All the above there on the multiple choice question. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll come on back. We'll chat it up with professional golfer Willie Mack III as we'll take you to the Rocket Mortgage Classic. But first, update time. Here's the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the NBA and NHL seasons are now over. Next up, NFL training camp just around the corner, but Major League Baseball will have most of the spotlight over the next few weeks now. Tonight, the first Battle of New York takes place with the Yankees, the best team in the American League, but they have looked like anything but recently, losing 7 of 10. They'll send Garrett Cole to the mound tonight. He made his season debut last Wednesday against the Orioles and is ready for another intense matchup tonight. The Mets are rolling with wins in 9 of 11, but won't have Edwin Diaz. The closer was suspended 10 games for violating the league's policy on foreign substances. The Guardians beat the Orioles last night for their 6th consecutive win. Tanner Bybee got the victory, but Stephen Vogt said tip his cap to the bullpen, which threw 3 hitless and scoreless innings.
All of them can throw at any time. We've talked about that all year, and it makes life easy. It doesn't ever get easy, but these guys time and time again step up and get it done no matter what the role we ask them to take.
Logan Allen will start Game 2 of the series against Baltimore's Cole Irvin, who's 6-3. A couple of 10-game winners in action tonight. The Phils' Ranger Suarez goes in Game 2 against the Tigers, while the Royals host the Marlins with 10-2 Seth Lugo on the mound. I'm Rich Ackerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We continue. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We now welcome in Willie Mack III. What a story this is. He's going to participate this upcoming weekend in the Rocket Mortgage Classic. He is a Flint, Michigan native, and he just won the John Shippen National Invitational to qualify and get an exemption in this tournament that gets underway in Detroit on Thursday. And Willie is kind enough to join us right now. First off, Willie, congratulations. I know it's been a crazy month and really a crazy last week, but appreciate the time. How you been?
Thank you. I've been pretty good. How have you?
I've been fantastic. So I saw last night, I was following you on Instagram, that you were at the Tigers game. Big Detroit sports fan, I'm assuming, growing up in Flint?
Oh yeah, I love the Tigers, the Lions, even though it's been a rough ride other than last year. But yeah, just me and my brother went. He's kiting for me this week, so just a little family outing and uh, something to get my mind off the golf and get ready for this week.
Yeah, the Lions, man, they're really on the come up. They almost got to the Super Bowl last year. I see the smile on your face, and a lot of people think they could get the job done this year. What are your thoughts on the Lions entering this season?
Yeah, hopefully they can rebuild a little bit and they need some help on the defense side, but I think they drafted some people, so hopefully we'll be good this year.
You said your brother's going to be on your bag for this weekend. Just what does that mean to you personally?
Oh yeah, he caddied for me last year on Corn Ferry Tour, and then caddied for me at sectional, so and the U.S. Open. So he's been on my road too that I've been on. So hopefully we can keep it going this week.
Willie Mack III is here with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. So what does it mean to you to win the John Shippen National Invitational and receive an exemption to actually play once again in the Rocket Mortgage Classic that gets underway in Detroit on Thursday?
Yeah, it's just getting this opportunity. Rocket Mortgage, Dan Gilbert, both sponsoring the tournament and giving us that opportunity to get out here and play in a PGA Tour event. It's something special. So hopefully I can get out there, play well, and represent not only Michigan but everybody that played in John Shippen.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the John Shippen. Obviously, does a great job in growing the game and expanding the game for people of different backgrounds. But tell us a little bit more about it if people are unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, he was one of the pioneers for African Americans to try to get out here on the PGA Tour and not even the PGA Tour, just to play golf. So just to win his honor, it's been some great champions the last couple of years. Tim O'Neill, Wyatt Worthington, and Chase Johnson. So to put my name on that list is it's exciting, and hopefully I can keep it going. I know Chase made the cut last year, so hopefully it can be a two-peat.
Oh, yeah, that would really be something. Just wondering, because the game is obviously growing, and right, we've seen what you've been able to do individually. We'll get into more of your story in just a bit as Willie Mack III is with us. But let's say if a youngster that looks like you came up to you and is really interested in golf and wanted some advice, what would you say, with especially some of the opportunities that you now have that weren't there years and years ago?
Yeah, it's just one of the things my dad told me. Just never giving up. Golf always hasn't been the easiest route for me. I've had a lot of ups and downs, but I feel like that's the game of golf too. So just being able to go through those tough times and get to where I am now, that's pretty much what I would tell them. And work on their short game.
I think we could all use that advice. I was reading an article about some of the racial prejudice that you had to overcome when you were first starting to start this career or start to actually play golf. Just how did you kind of fight through that? Because obviously those aren't easy moments for anyone to undergo through.
Yeah, the first year I turned pro, I played pretty well, missed finals by I think one or two shots. And at that time, you could go right to the PGA Tour. So who knows what would happen if I got through there. But that didn't happen. The next year was pretty tough. Just kind of living out of my car for about a year and a half, hopping around the people's house. But I always say I'm glad I went through those tough times. I feel like it made me a better person and a stronger person on the golf course.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I read the article. It said you were sleeping on friends' couches. You were sleeping out of your car for a bit. Just tell me a little bit more about that in this journey and this grind to be the person that's sitting in front of us today.
Yeah, it's just a grind. I'm not the only person that goes through bad things or rough times. So I feel like everybody has something they're going through. So it's just a part of my story, and I'm glad I overcame it. And we're here at the Rocket Mortgage this week, and hopefully I can put myself in contention.
Willie Mack III here with us right now. For people that maybe will see you for the first time this weekend, What could people expect out of your game? How would you kind of describe your game if no one's ever seen you play?
Probably here is a little bit different. I've grown up in Flint. I became like an honorary member here probably like the last 10 years after college. So I've played here a million times. So I'm just don't play the game I usually play here. Be aggressive on the holes I need to be, and hopefully it's a good week.
How do you look back at the U.S. Open experience? I know everyone's talking about the Rocket Mortgage Classic because that's what you're participating in on Thursday, but your first ever major championship event, how do you kind of look back at the U.S. Open?
Yeah, that was I had it going for the first round for about 16 holes. I think I was in fourth place the whole round, but the course was hard, so I'm glad I got that experience. I feel like I can use that going forward, and hopefully I just keep rolling. I've been playing well, so hopefully I can just prepare like I have been and execute when I need to.
Was the experience at all like a little bit surreal? I know you're a professional, right? You talked about how well you played the first day of the tournament, but was there like a moment you were like, holy crap, here we are. This is all the work I put in, and now I'm teeing off at the U.S. Open?
I don't know. I felt calm the whole week. I'm sorry. Honestly, I know a lot of guys out here just playing in PGA Tour events over the past couple of years. So everybody was congratulating me. Happy I was out there, and hopefully I can play well this week and kind of erase how that second day went.
Yeah, we're similar in age. So, I grew up loving Tiger Woods. I know you did the same, reading about you before Willie Mack III joined us here on the Infinity Sports Network. You got a chance to meet Tiger? I saw on your Instagram in 2021. Was that the first time you met him, and how'd that come about?
Oh, yeah. I played in the Genesis. I got the Charlie Sifford Invitational invite, and then I actually had lunch with him for about an hour and a half.
Wow.
So just to talk to him and see how he did things growing up is that's a moment I'll never forget.
Yeah, what'd you take from that experience? Like, what did you walk away with it?
He has been following me. He said some of my rounds, and just keep fighting. It's golf is hard, so all he said was just keep fighting, and hopefully he'll see me out here on the PGA Tour soon.
That's pretty damn neat. Hey, talking about the PGA Tour, Scottie Scheffler's been dominating right now. He has 6 victories this year. We know he just won at the Travelers. Just you understanding how tough it is, playing golf and playing in these tournaments. Just how about what Scottie's doing right now?
Yeah, like you said, growing up watching Tiger Woods, he's kind of going down the path of a Tiger run down this year. So he has a long way to catch Tiger. I think it's another 14 years he has to keep doing this. But yeah, he's playing well. I think everybody's watching how he's playing and getting around the course, and hopefully somebody can start taking them down soon.
Well, we'll see if it could be you, maybe coming up in a few weeks or something along those lines to wrap it up with Willie Mack III. I know Scottie isn't playing in the Rocket Mortgage Classic, but when I was watching him at the Travelers, I just had like one prevailing thought. Right? You see Bryson DeChambeau win the U.S. Open. We know he's now on Live Golf. Scottie then has won the Masters this year, and we also know has won 6 events. It's like the big question in this sport, even after the merger with Live Golf and the PGA Tour, and there's still so much uncertainty on what's going to happen. As a golfer, you kind of just hope that maybe everyone gets under one umbrella again in the near future.
Yeah, I'm not sure what will happen with that. Hopefully, they can figure something out, but that's for them to figure out, and me to just keep playing good golf and hopefully get on the PGA Tour full time.
Well, before we let you run, I just want to say thanks so much for doing this today. Congratulations once again on winning the John Shippen National Invitational, and hit them straight, all right? And make sure the short game's working starting on Thursday in Detroit. Thanks for doing this.
All right. Thanks for having me.
We continue. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We now welcome in Willie Mack III. What a story this is. He's going to participate
a little bit of it here with us
on this Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show. The Defensive Player of the Week, by the way, is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the armed forces, DoD veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. This week's player is Panthers goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky. In last night's Game 7 win, Bobrovsky saved 23 out of the 24 shots that came his way en route to hoisting Lord Stanley Cup. And we did chat about the Conn Smythe earlier, which is for the best or the most valuable player in the Stanley Cup playoffs, not just the Stanley Cup final. And when Connor McDavid put up the most assists in the history of a Stanley Cup playoffs in one individual run, and the fourth ever most points. I said it yesterday. I think it was right when we hung up the phone with Brian Boucher. I said, I should have asked him about if he thinks McDavid's going to win the Conn Smythe, because I do, regardless of the outcome of the game. And I was not shocked, especially when they do the voting 10 minutes to go in the third period. I was not shocked that McDavid did win it. What I was surprised by, and even I saw Botcher when I said this earlier in the show, he raised an eyebrow to this, and I 100% agree, how Bobrovsky finished fourth. It felt like the decision was either McDavid or Bobrovsky, and then also Barkov. All right, that was one of those three guys had to win. And I knew it was going to be McDavid. And the point totaling goes 5 for first place, 3 for second, and then 1 for third. The fact that Bobrovsky had 3 people finish in front of him, Gustav Forsling, Alexander Barkov, and then Connor McDavid, that's crazy to me. They only got 3 total votes. A first place, no second place, and then 2 third place to total up for 7 points. But hey, doesn't matter. All right? I don't think anyone ever wants to be the most valuable player of in a championship run that didn't result in them actually winning a championship, right? It's happened 5 other times in hockey. McDavid becomes the 6th, and it's one of those things where, okay, yeah, it's a nice honor, but you look at, how did they even fly back with the Conn Smythe? Does he leave it somewhere? Does he get it shipped back? Do they put it in, storage or something? You can't walk onto the plane with that, on their private plane. You're not going to put that in the seat next to you and you're the captain of the team. You're not going to have all your teammates get reminded, oh, yeah, we lost the Stanley Cup last night. Oh, but there's that big trophy that Connor McDavid has as the most valuable player of the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's awkward. I wonder how that did get sent back to Edmonton, to Alberta, with the Oilers. So I wonder if there's a story behind there. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories of the world of sports with some audio. We'll get to a news brief next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Rocking and rolling, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We will be chatting up with Liam McHugh, NHL on TNT studio host. He will join us 20 minutes from now as we recap the Stanley Cup final that did see the Florida Panthers, who were about to choke and be known as one of the biggest choke artists in the history of sports. So they avoided all of that. You know, we talked about it for a day and the possibility of it. But Sergei Bobrovsky was awesome last night. Finished 4th in the Conn Smythe voting. It did end up going to, obviously, Connor McDavid with the run that he had. And the Oilers lose Game 7. The Panthers come up big. They win Game 7 on their home ice 2-1. And they are your Stanley Cup champions after losing in the Cup final a year ago to the Vegas Golden Knights. So Liam McHugh will join us coming up 20 minutes from now. But first, let's update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, let's play this once again. It was so good that I have to hear it twice. This is JJ Redick on dispelling the misconceptions about him.
It's a valid question, and I've certainly heard everything. It's been a really interesting 6 weeks or so, just in terms of being part of the engagement farming industry. You know, it's been really interesting. However, I don't really have a great answer for your question because I really don't give a like, honestly. I want to coach the Lakers. I want to coach the team. I don't want to dispel anything. I don't. I want to become a great coach in the NBA, and I want to win championships, and I want my players to maximize their careers. That's all I care about.
So 2 F-bombs in that press conference. Brandon Tierney's not happy with the language and the bad mouth of J.J. Redick. Others in the media, too. Michael Kay, the longtime voice of the Yankees, also does a talk show in New York for a very long time in the afternoons. He said, what has happened in our society? And I haven't heard the tone of this, so I don't know if he's being like sarcastic or not. I just read it on Awful Announcing, where a guy who went to Duke, a bright guy, just drops an F-bomb on live TV. Botcher, how do you respond to that? You had a good comment earlier off the air.
Ken Jeong, famous comedian, The Hangover, Duke alum, doctor.
Yeah.
Dirtiest guy you've ever going to meet.
With his... You're talking about with the things that he says,
yes,
right?
of course.
Okay.
No, not like him personally, but like
You're
he
like,
says
he's the
things.
dirtiest guy you ever meet. How do you know about his hygiene?
You smell it through the Masked Singer set.
Yeah. No, it's like amazing. It's like this what this industry has become. What is it? The engagement farming industry? Like everyone has to have a take today, so people are going to pile on J.J. Redick for dropping 2 F-bombs in a press conference. Maybe it's because I'm younger. You know, I told you earlier, Stu, I was on the phone with my dad today, and he was annoyed that the Stanley Cup final had such an anticlimactic ending with the puck just being in the corner as the clock did tick away. But I also did bring up the J.J. Redick thing to him, to my old man. And my dad's like, you're the coach of the Lakers. You can't be cursing. I go, why? I go, it's a dopey introductory press conference. So what if he dropped an F-bomb? And the irony is I'm defending J.J. Redick, and I can't stand the dude. I think he is insufferable. You know, when he speaks, like the hair on my neck, it stands up, and I cringe, and I'm like, ugh, J.J. Redick. Ugh, shut up. But when he said, I don't give a bleep, like I laughed because we know he does care. That's the funny part. But then it's the reaction and how over the top, oh, what about the children? How dare that coach of the Lakers, that pig that they just hired, how dare he drops an F-bomb in a press conference? Give me a break. Here is J.J. Redick. He jokes that he's never coached before.
Feeling so grateful for Rob, Jeannie, the entire Lakers organization for entrusting me in this position. And I take this responsibility very seriously. I have never coached in the NBA before. I don't know if you guys have heard that.
No, yes, you've never coached before. See, like, JJ, you're not a comedian. Let's stop trying to tell the jokes here. Here's J.J. Redick. Here's another joke. He claims he never talked to LeBron James during this process.
LeBron and I did not talk about the Lakers job until Thursday afternoon, about 30 minutes after I was offered the job. And that was very intentional on both our parts. You know, I knew I had an understanding that he did not want to be involved in this.
Play me that again. There was, I guess, a member of the media in the background of that clip. Do you think he was letting out that noise because it was such baloney what LeBron James was saying, Stu? Or do you think there was just like a technical meltdown with the guy's camera or something like that?
I have to hear it again, but I think it was the first part. I think he knows, like, this is BS from Redick here.
Because it sounds like an older gentleman. Maybe it's someone covering the team, or maybe it could be a camera guy or something. But let's hear it one more time.
Until Thursday afternoon.
Now, play from the beginning, Boucher.
LeBron and I did not talk about the Lakers job until Thursday afternoon, about 30 minutes after I was offered the job.
All right.
And that was very intentional on both our parts.
So we could cut it there. It almost sounds too soon. Like it's right as he was saying it. That's why I kind of think there was some technical problem. All right, one more time, Botcher, from the beginning. Go ahead.
LeBron and I did not talk about the Lakers job until Thursday afternoon.
Actually, we did not talk about the Lakers job until Thursday afternoon. That's close. I want to believe that whoever that reporter was, their cameraman, didn't have like some technical problem with like a recording device or something, that was his reaction. Because if so, that dude deserves a raise because that's the biggest bullcrap I've ever heard. Obviously, LeBron and JJ Redick had a conversation about this. JJ Redick, though, he called us all, engagement farmers? Now he's claiming he's out of the engagement farming industry as he's done with this podcast.
I am, for the time being, and hopefully it's a very, very long time, I am excommunicated from the content space. So there would be no podcast.
I'm sorry.
We'll do something when I have a breather from what we have coming up. I'm going to be drinking out of a fire hose for the next month. But at some point, we'll just do something for all the people that listened, and we'll have a small little video. But I'm done with podcasting for now.
He's excommunicated from the, what do you say? From the what industry? From the content industry, I think he said. Excommunicated? All right, JJ, if you're going to speak like how most of us speak and you drop an F-bomb, you can't then say, oh, we're engagement farming, and then also say you're excommunicated. Who speaks like that? You Duke snob? Seriously. I'm excommunicated from the content industry. Ugh, insufferable. He is so insufferable. All righty, let's hear from Rob Pelinka on trying to hire Dan Hurley.
Happy to talk more about the entire process at another time. Today's sort of JJ's day. And I will say this, from the start, he was in our plan A pool of coaches that we were really interested in exploring. And I think the most important thing is throughout the process, JJ and I had direct and sort of constant communication to keep each other in the loop with what he was going through with his previous job with the NBA Finals. And I was keeping him abreast of the search. And I think sometimes before a partnership is forged, when you can have real, honest conversations before you actually become partners, it solidifies the relationship. And I think looking back to how transparent we were with one another, even in the midst of stuff going on in the media.
No, let's just call it what it is, Rob. Your organization didn't offer Dan Hurley enough money for him to go take the Los Angeles Lakers job. And there's an arrogance with the Lakers because it's the Lakers job. They think they can get whoever they want, and they ended up with J.J. Redick. They should have offered Dan Hurley the bag instead of just giving him a 6-year offer for $70 million total on that. And I've been in those spots. I was once at the remember when Carlos Beltran was the manager of the Mets? He didn't even get to a game because of the scandal. But I was at that press conference. A lot of people wanted Joe Girardi to be the next hire. So I raised my hand. I said, hey, Zach Gelb. I think I was working for Sirius at the time. I said, Zach Gelb from Sirius, Mad Dog Radio. Carlos, congratulations on the job. I know this is a happy day for you. But, Brody, my question's for you. A lot of people thought, Joe Girardi would have been the ideal hire for this job. Why isn't Joe Girardi the manager? And then the Mets ended the press conference 3 questions after that. They're like, oh, that's a question that we don't want people answering, so we have to end the press conference after that. I think it was one more question after that. I don't even think it was 3 questions after that. They quickly then shut down the press conference. So there's hires like that are made where people think other guys should have been hired and they have to be asked in that press conference. Here's our pal John Fant on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. He likes the Cleveland Cavaliers hiring Kenny Atkinson.
You look at what Kenny was able to do with the Nets at one point, getting a young core of Jared Allen and of Karis LeVert going in the right direction. He is an elite player development guy. For those holes in his arsenal, when he was let go by the Nets, when they parted ways, there was a thought process in the league from people that I've talked with in recent years that wasn't his last stop as a head coach. He's a really, really well-liked guy in the league, has a great reputation. Then again, is Steve Kerr going to hire someone that he doesn't trust, that he doesn't think highly of? You have to account for that when you look at this hire.
I think it's a good hire because Kenny Atkinson is a demanding coach. He also knows how to develop players. And the Cavs aren't naturally going to get a ton of stars. They have Donovan Mitchell there right now, who's a very good player. Very good. like when I think of star, I think top 10 player in the league. I don't think Donovan Mitchell's a top 10 player in the league. So kind of like what the Knicks have done, where they have to be like a team that tries their hardest in the regular season to be better than what they probably actually are from a talent standpoint. That's what I think Kenny Atkinson can also bring a similar style to what Thibodeau has done in a different way to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I like the hire, all things considered. He's a good coach, and he got screwed by Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Here's Gary Bettman. He announced Connor McDavid as the Conn Smythe winner.
The winner of the Conn Smythe Trophy is a player who has been the most valuable for the entire playoff run. The player who is going to be given the Conn Smythe this year led the playoffs in scoring and broke Wayne Gretzky's assist record for playoffs. The winner of the Conn Smythe is Connor McDavid.
So I have no problem with Connor McDavid winning. I actually thought he was going to win heading into the game last night, even without knowing who was going to win the Stanley Cup. But Stu, when you start to hear the reaction from the crowd, if you're Bettman, don't you got to just kind of improv and go, actually, we're going to go against the voters. Sergei Bobrovsky, come get come get the Conn Smythe Trophy. That's what I think you got to do.
Could you imagine if he did that?
So I'll tell you a funny story. I went to a sleepaway camp. It's like it's not a funny story to start, but it ends up being a funny story. So I went to a sleepaway camp, and unfortunately, one of the people that led like the boys' side of the camp, he passed away. He was a teacher. He passed away. He was working out and had a heart attack. He fell, hit his head, and unfortunately passed away. So we wanted to honor him at the camp. And I was very close with this person. So I came up, with his name. I won't say his name on the radio, this award. And I wrote the entire award. For whatever the reason is, even though I came up with the award, I wasn't a part of the voting process for the award. But they wanted me to give out the first award. So it was very secret, like who won the award. They didn't want people to know at the camp. So they told me a name, and they asked me who I thought should have won, but I didn't get a vote. And the person that I thought should have won the award, his name, let's just say, began with the C. The other guy that actually won the award also had the same name as this guy. Name was Caleb. So when they're about to tell me who wins the award to announce it, they go, Caleb won the award. Now, the Caleb that I thought should have won the award, they didn't tell me the last name, so I just assumed it was him. So I announced the award, and I turn around, and one of the people that knew who won the award, it looked like he saw a ghost. He's like, you gave the award out to the wrong person. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting back up there and saying, oh, we made a mistake. That's not happening. So because they didn't tell me the last name, because I guess it was obvious in their mind, and I thought it was the other person, we ended up giving out the award, the first award, to the wrong person.
That's incredible.
But the person that unfortunately did pass away was a big practical joker, so I think that was like his way of playing a prank on us.
It's a way of honoring him.
Yes, 100%. And finally, let me hear from, let's hear, this is the play-by-play with the color analyst as well of the Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup. This was on Panthers radio. The guy that you hear in the background is Bill Lindsay. He is the color analyst, not the play-by-play guy. Go ahead.
Fans to their feet. Bouchard, pass missed Draisaitl. Down to our right, Forsling in the corner. He'll try and hold this. 10 seconds left. 2-1 Panthers. A dream 30 years in the making is a reality. The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup.
Lord Stanley is coming home. You always will have a place in South Florida. Oh, my God.
The Panthers have won the Stanley Cup for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah!
Start the celebration, South Florida. The Panthers have done it.
Stanley Cup champions!
There will be some old curmudgeon-like broadcasters that are like, how did Bill Lindsay ruin the moment for the play-by-play guy and all that? That's awesome. Hey, if you would have told me that was a fan sitting in the 200 section that had about 8 pops of beer, or 8 pops of beer. What am I trying to say? 8 tequila shots, let's go with. I would have just believed you as well. That was the color analyst of the team.
Champions!
Yeah! That's awesome. That's great. There's going to be a lot of broadcasters annoyed with that, though. Oh, you ruined the moment. Probably the same people complaining about J.J. Redick dropping an F-bomb in an introductory press conference. Alrighty, that's a news brief. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Come on back. Liam McHugh does a great job. NHL on TNT. Studio host will recap the Stanley Cup final with him.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network, and it is the Zach Gelb Show. We are going to connect with Liam McHugh coming up momentarily right here as the day after the Stanley Cup final, as it was the trophy of the Lord Stanley Cup was handed out last night to the Florida Panthers, who were in the Cup final a year ago, and they lost to the Vegas Golden Knights. I thought that the Panthers were the best team entering the Stanley Cup playoffs, and they ended up prevailing, even though it looked like that they were going to lose that series. When they were up 3-0, that series looked over, and then they lose Game 4, they lose Game 5, they lose Game 6, and then we head into Game 7 last night, and all that momentum clearly shifted to the Edmonton Oilers. And I thought Brian Boucher made a good point with us yesterday that I didn't hear from anybody else, that the pressure was actually on Edmonton last night. I thought for sure the pressure was on Florida because they were right on the cusp of being known as one of the biggest choke artists in the history of sports. And Edmonton, when they were down 3-0, no one expected anything out of them. But Boucher was basically saying that he thought, because now everyone expects the Oilers to win, that there was more pressure on Edmonton last night, which I disagree with. But the Panthers, they got the first goal. And then quickly after that, like 2.5 minutes later, you did get to see Edmonton tie it up. And then in that second period, you saw Edmonton almost put the puck in the net. Florida comes back the other way. Reinhart gets the goal. And then in the third, it was protect the 1-goal lead, which the Florida Panthers did. And they ended up winning the Stanley Cup, and Connor McDavid ended up getting the Conn Smythe Trophy. I believe we are about to connect with Liam McHugh. He does a great job, NHL on TNT. And Liam is with us right now, joining us the day after the Stanley Cup was handed out to the Florida Panthers. Liam, appreciate the time as always. How you been, my man?
I'm doing well. I'm better at TNT than I am like hooking up any sort of computer. I'm like 75 years old apparently. So,
it's fine.
But I'm on and I made it. I'm great, man. It's good to be on with you.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us. So, what did you think about? Let me start you off with Game 7 last night. You go into it right. Everyone gave up on Florida. Everyone was ready to say that Edmonton is one of the greatest comebacks in sports history. And then Florida reminds us why they were in the Stanley Cup final and why a lot of us thought they were the best team in hockey going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So how about what you got to see last night, just in terms of the way the game played out? I think Liam froze up on us, so that's fine. Let's just take him off the screen. Let's call him. Let's do that, all right? But let's just call Liam McHugh. We will make it easier for everybody involved here, and we will just try to connect with him via the phone because obviously the Zoom is having a little issues. And I understand that, too. Sometimes with Zoom, it gets a little bit difficult. But we will get Liam McHugh on. We'll have a good chat with him, and we will recap what was a sensational Stanley Cup final. I'm curious his thoughts on Connor McDavid winning the Conn Smythe Trophy. That did not come to a surprise to me. I think it came to a surprise to many casual hockey fans that don't understand it's for the entirety of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I think people just thought it was for the Stanley Cup final. But with McDavid having the fourth most points in the history of a playoff run and the most assists, I didn't have a problem with him winning the Conn Smythe. We got Liam McHugh back. All right, Liam, let's pick up where we left off. Just how about what you kind of took away from the game last night and how it played out?
Frankly, I was a little shocked because I think you're right. Florida gave us like a very, very swift reminder of why they got to the point, that they had gotten to, how they got there, and just how tough that team is, top to bottom, and what playoff hockey looks like, and that Florida has, sort of created this style and this tone that they play tough, that everyone's involved, that it's 60 minutes of making you earn it, which I wasn't sure it was going to be because of the way the Oilers had played the last few games. I thought the Oilers were just the flash was back, the sizzle, all the speed game was back. McDavid looked like for a couple games like he was about to tear this thing up and light everybody up. But they were able to control the tempo, set the tone, and the Florida Panthers deserve to be the Stanley Cup champs. What I'm astonished at still is that they played this style from October all the way through the season and then won the Stanley Cup. They deserve the dip in the ocean with the cup.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Liam McHugh here with us, NHL on TNT studio host. They do a tremendous job covering hockey all throughout the year. Always love watching Liam and the entire gang on NHL on TNT. So Bobrovsky, that was the big question going into the game last night, how he would respond because, right, he was on the verge of what a lot of people thought winning the Conn Smythe and they're up 3-0 and then lost his game. Was it more so Bobrovsky to you last night, or was it more of a little bit of to credit the defense in front of him? What really jumped out to you there?
I think it was a bit of both. It really was. I mean, there were moments and pockets in the game and little points and plays where I saw Edmonton look like they were in position to pounce or appear on the power play like they were about to set something up. And McDavid, you had that edge of your seat feeling, and they closed windows pretty quickly, which I think is something they do defensively. They smother guys, they clog things up. But Bobrovsky, just from a confidence standpoint, I mean, he felt like the player we saw in Game 1. He felt like the player we saw throughout the playoffs this year and last year. And that's a big question. And whether or not a goalie within a series, with all the pressure in the world on them, I mean, there was, honestly, I know there's pressure on McDavid to win, and it's heaped on by so many different angles. But the fact that they were 0-3 and came all the way back, it's to me, all the pressure was on Florida. It was on Bobrovsky. And for him to rebound the way he did, I know he doesn't win the Conn Smythe. I think, though, this could be years from now. When we're talking about Sergei Bobrovsky in the Hall of Fame, it's moments like this. And I think it's moments like these that get him into the Hall of Fame. It's the Vezinas early in the career, but it's the moments like this late. And you know what else we don't talk about, Zach, anymore? We don't talk about his contract anymore, do we?
No,
we don't talk about it.
Sure.
That conversation has gone away.
Well, here's the crazy part to me, and I understand there's a lot of people that just parachute in for the Stanley Cup final or just the playoffs, and maybe they don't understand the Conn Smythe is for the entirety of the playoffs. I thought going into the game last night, when you pass Gretzky in assists for an individual playoff run, you had the fourth most points out of anybody of all time for an individual playoff run. I thought McDavid was going to win the Conn Smythe. What is alarming, though, is that Bobrovsky finished fourth in the Conn Smythe voting. So had you kind of processed McDavid not only winning it, but then Bobrovsky, who the fans thought probably should have won the award, ended up finishing fourth?
I don't think that makes any sense. The McDavid portion, yes. The Bobrovsky portion, no. To me, it really felt like a two-man race. Bobrovsky played great. You want to say Bobrovsky deserves the Conn Smythe? I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm not going to go into absolutes here where someone absolutely had to have it, another person didn't. I get that there are people who say you win the cup, you should have someone who wins the Conn Smythe. If I voted, I'd have him second, Bobrovsky. I would have voted McDavid. And I'll say this also. McDavid is judged, much like Michael Jordan was, at a different standard than anyone else. If any other player in the world put up the numbers McDavid put up, had the games he had the series and the playoffs he had, we would not ever be talking about should they win the Conn Smythe. We would say, what an unbelievable performance. But because it's McDavid, we expect the spectacular every single moment of every single game. And when he can't deliver it on cue in Game 7 in the most pressure-packed moment, people say, maybe he doesn't deserve the Conn Smythe. McDavid, the cool thing about all this is that McDavid doesn't want it. He's going to lock that thing away in a closet. He's never going to look at it. The sight of it is going to make him sick.
Yeah.
That guy wants the cup so desperately. But McDavid is judged at a different standard. I think about the times when we were almost, I remember as a kid, and we were talking about Michael Jordan, you're almost like trying to figure out who else you could give the MVP to. Maybe this guy. You knew Jordan was the MVP. McDavid, it's the similar situation where we almost look for reasons not to give him the award. He deserved the Conn Smythe. He doesn't want it. We talked about the cup in the ocean. McDavid might as well, but he might sail out on a boat somewhere and throw it in the ocean because he may never look at it.
Well, that's the thing. I wonder how they brought the Conn Smythe trophy home, because you can't have it like in the seats of the plane, because that's just like the worst. Everyone knows they lost the cup final, but that's like a bad look for a captain. Like, did he leave it in the hotel? Did he they ship it? Did he just throw it underneath the plane? Like, I'm fascinated by how the Conn Smythe got back to Connor McDavid's home.
I think I'm immediately, reminded of the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they're like, we have top men working on it, and it's just sealed in some crate, and there's some guy pushing into a massive storage facility, never, ever to be seen again. That feels like probably what happens here. Because if it's in a plane, someone's shoving it out of the plane, and McDavid's not flying on that plane. There's zero chance. He's to win as any athlete I have ever encountered, so he wants no part of it.
So when you look back at this, Liam, before we let you run, what's the prevailing thought with Florida? Obviously, they were aggressive. They were unconventional in how they formed this team. We know what the Cup means to that organization, it being their first one. But when you look back at how Florida was able to do with this, what really does jump out to you?
I think it's bold. It's a boldness where a few years ago they won the President's Trophy. They had undergone coaching changes where they had Quenneville, then they had Brunette. Brunette was a Coach of the Year candidate, and then they bowed out and looked bad doing so in the playoffs. And then they got bold and they made moves, and they decided we need to bring in different players, not just players who score, but players who know how to win. They bring in Paul Maurice, right coach, right time, guy who delivers a message, always seems to have the right tone, whether it's something funny or something serious or something harsh. He was the perfect guy for this job. I don't know. It's just one of those things where it all comes together so nicely. It's a championship team, a deserving championship team. And I think in many ways it's going to be a blueprint for a lot of teams where we can get players that are star players, maybe not superstar players, but star players. They all buy in. They all play this way. And then it doesn't hurt if you have a guy like Sergei Bobrovsky. But and with that, you can take down gods. And that's what McDavid is. He is a god in this game, and you are capable of taking down gods.
Well, you look back at it, too. Leon Draisaitl. And I know this is what Florida does, right? And I know McDavid's a little bit different. He exploded in the series, didn't have a point in Game 6 or Game 7. But for Leon Draisaitl not to get a goal in this series, and that's a top 5 player, is it more so a credit to what Florida did? Like, I don't know, was Draisaitl hurt? Like, how do you explain Leon Draisaitl? Because it's inconceivable to me how he did not score a goal in the Stanley Cup final.
It is, because he's that talented. I mean, I think you can make the case on any given week that he's a top 5 player in the world. He's more than like Pippen to Jordan. He's the type of guy who could, be the face of any team in the league other than the one he's on, pretty much. It is inconceivable, and maybe we'll find out that he was hurt. He looked pretty good out there. We've seen him hurt and be brilliant before. He plays through everything. I think he's a bit of a warrior out there. I don't know. It's strange. I think it's something that Florida does. I really do. But I'll tell you this much. He's another guy, like, whatever excuse there might be, and there might be a good one. We find out sometimes, I remember we found out with Bergeron back in 2013 that he had a punctured lung that he was playing with. And there may be something. Who knows? He is never going to use that as an excuse. He's a guy. He's another guy who, just cannot. It'll kill him every moment of the day that he got this close. It's inconceivable. I think the good news for this Oilers team is, had they just flamed out in the first round or been upset in the second round, you have to have serious conversations about the future of the franchise. You really have to say, this team will be back next year. We can win this entire thing next year. And I think the cool thing with McDavid and Draisaitl is that probably starts today.
He's Liam McHugh, NHL and TNT, does a brilliant job all throughout the year as their studio host. Liam, appreciate the time. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, man.
There you go. Liam McHugh joining us on the Infinity Sports Network. Apologize for a little bit of the poor connection via Zoom and then also on the phone as well. All righty, we'll take a timeout. We'll come on back. Last segment to play when we return. CBS Sports put out a list, coaches on the hot seat. So let's go through some of those NFL coaches, and we'll tell you what they need to do to keep their job. Update time first. Here's the Ackman Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flag.
On the Subway Series, the Battle of New York spotlights tonight's schedule in the major leagues. The Yankees and Mets meet for the first time this year in Queens. Garrett Cole is back. The Cy Young Award winner made his season debut last week and will take the mound tonight with a high-spirited series opener, with the Yankees having dropped 7 of their last 10. The Mets have been baseball's best team this month at 13-6, but closer Edwin Diaz is out after being suspended for the next 10 games for his ejection Sunday for violating the league's policy on foreign substances. The Royals have been one of the more pleasant surprises in baseball, and more so Seth Lugo, the veteran right-hander, 10-2, and will take the mound tonight against the Marlins. And after 10 years in the big leagues, he's enjoying his best season and soaking it all in.
Learning is the biggest thing. Paying attention to other guys, especially some of these younger guys with good arms, and how they're going through lineups. You can learn a lot from some of these other guys. But as far as maintaining, just sticking with my routine. I've been pretty consistent with my routine over the years, so just staying with that and trusting the process.
Ranger Suarez is 10-1. He goes for the Phillies tonight when they go for their 4th straight in Detroit. And the Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2024 includes former Red Wings great Pavel Datsyuk, Jeremy Roenick, and Shea Weber. I'm Rich Akron.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, and this portion of the program is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Stu, we got a big decision to make. So I'm going to the Met-Yankee game tonight with Stuart Kovacs. We are going to make a 6:37 train that gets into Citi Field at 6:55. The game starts at 7:10 p.m. Eastern time. Do we eat before we get to the stadium, or do we eat at the stadium? It is your call. I'm following your lead.
My call. Okay. I mean, I like the food that is at Citi Field.
They have very good food at
Yes. Now, of course, it is a tad pricey, like every ballpark stadium is around here. But I am more than fine eating at Citi Field and finding something there.
Okay. I was just wondering what kind of mood you were in. Because I could be persuaded to eat a little bit healthier before we get into the stadium, or you go to the stadium and then you eat a bunch of
then you pig out.
Yeah, I'm going to the draft tomorrow, and I'm in some, club that's, free food at the draft tomorrow. So I know that's, I need, a load management day. You know, I'm like an NBA player now. You know, Zach Gelb 4 or 5 years ago, no problem, back-to-back nights, gluttonous night, big food item after big food item, drink after drink, I'm fine. Back-to-back nights, a little bit difficult. Ooh. I'm like an NBA player now. You know, I can't go back-to-back nights.
Gotta load manage.
Like that anymore. So I guess, what are you thinking at the stadium? Like when you go to the ballpark, are you like a traditional hot dog guy, or do you want the gourmet food that they have at Citi Field? There's a Pat LaFrida filet mignon steak sandwich. There's the man versus food guy. I think Adam Richmond. He has a burger out in right field. Are you a Mets fan, Botcher?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I wish we had a third ticket. I would have invited you.
These
were literally last second.
I need sleep.
Oh, you do? Yeah, they work you like an animal here. So. you could probably use some sleep. Have you been to a Mets game this year?
Yes, I've been to 3.
Oh wow, I didn't know you were. I don't really know a lot about the sports fandom of Ryan Botcher, if I'm being serious.
Well, the bad New York teams. That's it.
So you're a Met fan. You're a Jet fan.
Nets.
Nets and Islanders.
Yes.
Oh jeez. Decision making is not your strong suit.
It wasn't my choice. Parents.
Parents all.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your favorite thing you've had at Citi Field this year?
This year. So in left field, there's a mac and cheese brisket / mac and cheese pulled pork.
Oh, what is that? That pig bay?
The pig barbecue something thing.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That sounds pretty good. That does sound pretty good.
But the lines are like 15 minutes long, so if you want to watch first pitch, you're not going to get that.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like Stu is a live and die by every pitch
No,
kind of guy.
no, I used to be.
No, not anymore.
As I've gotten older, I can miss a few pitches. I'll survive.
The problem now with the pitch clock, though.
Yeah, you miss a lot more
used to be able to
time.
walk around, you miss a half an inning. Now you walk around, you miss 3 innings.
Yep.
It's crazy. Marash was the first person to point that out to me. He's like, you go to a game, the pitch clock's going to be a problem. Like, why is the pitch clock going to be a problem? He goes, because I'm trying to stuff my fat face at these games, and they don't give you enough time now. And it's a brilliant point by Marash. So we'll see what we're going to eat tonight. That the mac and cheese at a baseball game, I don't know. It just doesn't sound right.
Well, if you get there early enough,
early
enough, it's fine. Eating it during the game is a little weird.
Yeah. I don't know, it's also like a hot, sticky night. I want mac and cheese on like a hot, sticky night. I don't know. I think I'll be like glued to the seat. I'll be like that lady that protested and glued herself to the court in Minneapolis. That'll be me if I have mac and cheese. I'll be glued in section, where are we? 111. I'll be glued to the seat.
That's the second time she's come up this week.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, because of the
golf
dopey
protest,
protesters at the Travelers. I was like, why did I bring her up? I remember referencing her this. It's only been 2 shows. It's a long week. Let me tell you. I think after this week, I'm off every Friday, I want to say, in July and August, or almost every Friday. So that's how I'm electing to use some of my summer vacations. I am learning from some of the great talk show hosts that were before me. Anyway, CBS put out a list. NFL coaches on shaky ground after entering the 2024 season, ranking 8 hot seat candidates to watch. Sean McDermott, he's ranked 8th. I don't think Sean McDermott's getting fired. I think the Bills love him. I think the Bills are afraid to see what life is like without Sean McDermott. I have a tough time seeing Sean McDermott getting fired. Todd Bowles, we talked at the hot seat yesterday. Todd Bowles should be in the hot seat. First year without Tom Brady, they made the playoffs. And they won a playoff game. They beat the Eagles. I don't think he's on the hot seat. Nick Sirianni. I think Nick Sirianni needs to not only make the playoffs, he needs to bare minimum win a playoff game this year. Mike McCarthy, the only way I think he's safe is if he gets to an NFC title game. I really do believe that, and I don't think he will. Matt Eberflus. Stu, do you think Matt Eberflus is on the hot seat? Like, going into last year, he was. That team, they won, 7 games, I think? And now they have a new court. Like, unless you don't think that Caleb Williams is going to get ruined under Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy is their offensive coordinator. Like, if they just have a solid year, I think they can make the playoffs. I am actually predicting that they will make the playoffs. But if they go like 8-9, or even if they go 7-10 again, I don't think Matt Eberflus is getting fired. It's more so, do you walk away from this season thinking that Caleb Williams is still that generational talent? If it's like a Panther situation, the coach is gone with Bryce Young. If it's a situation where it's like, Caleb and the staff didn't get along, then the staff's gone. But I think if you just walk away, regardless of what the record is, okay, they're in a spot where it's like you kind of think that they still have a bright future. I'd be surprised if Eberflus gets canned.
Yeah, I feel like if Eberflus, that would have been a decision after last season. Like, if they were so unhappy with him, they would have canned him after last season. But now that you have the first overall pick quarterback, I feel like unless it's a complete disaster, like they win 2 or 3 games or something crazy like that, I think he survives.
Dennis Allen.
Yeah, he sucks.
That was the same thing you said yesterday,
Yes,
and I thought it was the funniest thing. They love him, which is crazy. As long as they're 8-9, 9-8, I think he's back next year. I do. Brian Daboll. I don't think we brought up Daboll yesterday because we gave our list, and now CBS Sports gave a list, so we'll react to their list. I think Daboll's good as gone. I think that Giant team is going to suck this year. I think they're going to they have a very good defense. And on offense, they have Malik Neighbors. But what else do they have on offense that really inspires you? Their defensive line is incredible. With Sexy Dexy, Dexter Lawrence, you got Brian Burns, you got Kayvon Thibodeau. But I think, you know what? I think potentially both New York teams are looking for a new coach next year. The Giants will. The Jets, they got to make the playoffs. If Saleh doesn't make the playoffs this year, I don't think, they're like, Aaron, just because you want Saleh back, then that means you're back. Because if the Jets will make the playoffs, people are going to turn on Rodgers. So then you use Salah as a scapegoat, and I do think Rodgers will play one more year. So I will say Salah misses the playoffs. He's gone. If he makes the playoffs, he's back next year as the coach of the JATS. Jets. So pretty good list by Cody Benjamin. I did not have Bowles on my list yesterday. I don't think we discussed Dayball yesterday. And Eberflus we definitely did not discuss. Because I just don't go into this season. It's weird. Eberflus and McDermott, I think we're all talked about last year as potentially getting fired. The fact that they didn't get fired, as Stu kind of said with Eberflus, it cools the flames. I don't want to say extinguish the flame, but it went from it looked like it was going to be a forest fire, and now it's just a mini campfire right now. It could explode and get crazy once again, but you're probably just roasting the mallows and getting ready to put some Hershey bars and some graham crackers together. Right now it's a fire that's under control. And I do think that, McDermott and also Eberflus, they're in control of their situation right now. I don't know what it's going to lead to, but I think the people that hire them are fine with what they're doing right now. All right, that will conclude this Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Big thanks to Ryan Botcher. Big thanks to Stuart Kovacs, each and every one of you. Also like to thank John Rothstein stopping by earlier in the show. He said that if it wasn't for the fact that LeBron James is the father of Bronny James would not even get drafted. I think he's going to go in the second round. Good to connect with Willie Mack III, professional golfer. Tremendous story. He was living out of his car. Was sleeping on friends' couches. Played in the U.S. Open this past year. Did really well in the first day, then missed the cut with the poor performance of the second day. But he's going to tee it up at the Rocket Mortgage Classic, which is going to come your way. That gets started on Thursday. And thank you to Liam McHugh, even though we had to fight through the technical difficulties, joining us NHL on TNT. All righty, that will conclude this Tuesday edition of the show. We'll be back tomorrow across all these same Infinity Sports Network affiliates, SiriusXM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and streaming on YouTube as fun gets started right at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Enjoy your Tuesday evening or your late Tuesday afternoon, depending on where you are listening to us. And we'll talk to you mañana, everybody, on a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.